Yo, what's good, YouTube family? I'm Marcus, and today's video is going to be a dope video because there's a couple of topics that I saw in the news or somebody emailed me or sent me a message, and I thought, this is interesting. I want to talk about it. Now, a few of them got a little bit of a financial nexus. The third one is just a cautionary tale, and honestly, it's just kind of sad the direction that our society is going in as a whole. If you're new to the channel, I'm Marcus, the Debt Free Dad, where we're talking finances, attorney reactions, current events, and all that good stuff in between. Hey, before this video gets started, shout out to the people who, if you got a student loan, hey, interest is going to start accruing tomorrow. So I just want to give y'all a heads up. Interest accruing tomorrow, and next month, y'all got to start making those payments. Hey, I'm a licensed attorney in multiple places, but none of those places amount to me being your attorney. So I always got to throw that caveat out there. This isn't legal or financial advice or no professional advice. This is for infotainment purposes. And, hey, just giving my opinion and takes on topic. So, topic number one we got to talk about is Eminem. Okay. Eminem and politics, right? I don't know if you all watched the Republican debate. I watched the Republican debate because I just watch it. I like to know everything that's going on in all types of places. But I thought this was interesting because Eminem made a legal move to protect his brand with a current presidential candidate. And we definitely got to go take a look at the video because it was awful. Now, Vivek Ramaswamy is Republican who's running for to get the Republican nomination so he can be in the big game, big time election. Now, that being said, I watched the Republican debate, and early on the consensus was that he actually won, but even though he didn't participate, it looked like Donald Trump won, even though he didn't participate. But that's neither here nor there. Why would Eminem in politics and the presidential hopeful have any issue? Well, we're going to talk about it. Is one thing I always talk about on this video is protecting your brand, your image, your intellectual property, your content. You have to protect it because people can use it if they choose. But remember, depending on that person's following or how they use it, it could be a benefit to your brand and increase the value, or it could decrease the value. So Vivek Ramaswamy decided he wanted to rap and show off his lyrics by reciting some Eminem lyrics, and it didn't go too well. First, let's go ahead and watch the video first. Then after we watch the video, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the very few instances where I actually want to see a presidential candidate rapping. Okay, it's very few instances where I want to see a presidential candidate rapping, and this definitely wasn't one of them. Okay, so let's go ahead, take a look, pull this video up so y'all can see exactly why. As soon as I saw this video, I knew exactly why Eminem sent a cease and desist letter. Because it was one of the not one of the worst Eminem songs, but hey, I get Eminem's point. He's trying to protect his brand. Let's check out the video. All right, let's hold on. Let's rewind real quick. Okay, the crowd generally looks disinterested to me. He leave the bars to the real Slim Shady. Now, I thought that was actually a interesting and kind of ridiculous. I thought that was an interesting and kind of ridiculous take because, like I said, there's very few instances where I want to see a presidential hopeful rap. And then let's just be honest, like, how many people are actually cool enough? Like, how many people are actually cool enough to run for president and recite a popular hip hop lyric and that look kind of silly? Okay, like okay, let's see. Who are presidents that I generally can see how people thought they were cool? Okay. I wasn't around during the Kennedy time, but just from historical context, it looks like Kennedy was a cool president. Not that we wanted to see Kennedy singing the Beastie Boys or nothing, but Kennedy, I think, is a consensus. People will say that he was a cool outside of the box president. So we got Kennedy. Who else I got? Reagan, Bush one, Bush two. No, Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, probably people would consider him a cool president. He played the saxophone. He went on Arsenio Hall, which was wild for that time. Nobody thought that would happen. He was a playable character in a popular video game. So, like, okay, JFK, Bill Clinton, probably two presidents that I think people will generally say, like, oh, they were seen as cool people, at least for a time when they were in office or before they was in office. Barack Obama, even though he was I guess relatively cool and hip, I would actually even put Donald Trump in the presidents who's kind of cool, who I can see if you had to make a selection of these people, presidents who are cool, that's probably the only ones that I can really think of who are just kind of seen outside of the box or outside of the norm. But it's generally a bad idea for a politician, in my opinion, to be reciting rap lyrics. And we got to think about the value to Eminem. Like, hey, we don't know what these guys' rhetoric may be from day one, from day two. So, as an artist, hey, if I was Eminem, I think it was a smart move to send a cease and desist letter because he doesn't know, hey, which way this can go, how that climate is going to affect it. And a lot of times, when anyone wants to use a popular artist's music, a lot of times they just go ahead and get their permission up front. If the artist is cool with you using it, they probably ain't gonna have an issue. But I can see out of an abundance of caution and to protect this brand why someone would do that. But it was Clinton was definitely uh I think a popular cool camp, but it's only like five of them. There's only like five presidents who are cool where if they did something like that, it wouldn't seem kind of wild or outside of the box. But I thought that was interesting because Eminem wasn't having it. And this wasn't the first time. I looked it up historically. There were a few other presidents who got cease and desist letters from musicians saying, like, yo, don't play my music on your campaign trail. So I guess it just depends on the artist, the ideology. Now, the second thing I wanted to talk about, and it is interesting. I was having a conversation about golden handcuffs. Okay. Now, I don't know if y'all are familiar with the phrase golden handcuffs, but people generally define it as when you're in corporate America or the workforce, is financial incentives that your company will pay you to keep you on board. They want to retain good staff. So, like, okay, hey, these guys are top performers. Well, let's give them a bonus. Let's give them a promotion. Let's give them a raise. And it's called golden handcuffs because, hey, you're tied to that organization. You really can't make a move. And the reason you can't make a move because every time you think about making a move, they throw something on you to sweeten the pot and sweeten the offer up. And so the conversation had turned towards not more so golden handcuffs per se, because I don't think most people. I've never had it. I wish a job would give me some golden handcuffs. I would probably be very appreciative of that. But it turns more to contentment and are people willing to take risk, right? And I think a lot of times when we talk about our career or anything, once we get comfortable and content with something, I mean, just think of it. Human nature is one of repetitiveness, patterns. We like patterns, we like comfortability. And most people are reluctant to change. Most people, like, think about it. If your bank updates the app, I do this all the time. I'm like a 90-year-old man. If my bank updates my app, and I go and log on to my app, I'd be like, I don't like the way this look. So most people are reluctant to change, right? And so I was posed this question, okay? If you had a career opportunity, both career opportunities pay the exact same salary, which is a good salary, right? Career opportunity number one is you would be doing something that you've done for the past 7 years. So you're really experienced and skilled in it. And it's at let's say a Fortune 500 company, right? Is number 373, right? Career opportunity number two is, again, they all pay the same. You're doing something that you have very limited experience in, but you're at a Fortune 10 company. Okay. You're at Apple. The first one is a Fortune is number three on a Fortune 500. First company is 379. The second company giving you an opportunity as something that you've done before, but you don't have a lot of experience in is, hey, it's the number two largest company in the United States. And someone asked, which option would you choose? And as a matter of, I would say 90% of the people in that discussion said that they would take option A because it's something that they're familiar with and they have an experience doing. And I was like one of the very few people was like, I would probably take option B. I would probably take option B, even though I don't have any experience doing it. And well, the first thing was, well, why would you take option B? One, I like learning new information. Okay. I think there's some value and excitement in actually having a learning curve and learning new information. Plus, I think that there is opportunity. And so when we were talking about this and golden handcuffs and being complacent, because a lot of people make changes not because they want to make change, but because they have to make change. But we really do like and enjoy being comfortable. I've found, me personally, I tend to like a little bit of chaos. Like if I had a prime environment to work in or operate in, I would actually prefer to be in an environment that is a lot of moving pieces, priorities change all the time, is a little bit of chaos, you never know what's going to happen. That type of environment for me is better than something where you know what's going to happen every day for the most part. 9 to 5. It's really structured. I That environment would drive me crazy. I tend to think the environment that has a little bit more risk, it seems a little bit more stressful, is probably the better environment to be in. And of course, everyone asks, well, why would you want to be in an environment where it's always changing? The priorities are changing, the people are changing, the objectives are changing. It's more stressful, it's more to do. You don't know. And because there's more opportunity over there. Is more opportunity in an environment like that than there is when times are stable. When times are stable and everything is good, there's opportunity, but there's very limited opportunity. Why is there limited opportunity? Because opportunities are most prevalent when there's a little bit of chaos going on. I mean, let's just take a look at the stock market. When do people make a lot of money in the stock market? Right after an economic downturn. When there's risk, when there's chaos, when people are uneasy, the person who has a level head, who can move calmly, who can think strategically, they have a lot of opportunity to reap a big reward. So in that scenario they gave me, I was like, that's why I would take that job, even though I'm not super experienced in that area. I can learn it. Is a little bit more risk over involved, but with more risk come more reward. Going to the first option, that job where it's really structured, is not a lot of risk. You can go in that job, you can do your job great because you got all these years of experience, but you may not have as much opportunity for promotion and growth. Where over here in the chaotic realm, if you can go over here and you can maneuver over here in a manner that's smart, and you're a subject matter expert or can become a subject matter expert, you can go from being the new guy on the block to being in charge in a matter of a year or two easily. So I think that's a good way to do it. I think that's a good way to do it for me. Now, it depends on your stress level. It depends on your tolerance for change. It depends on your tolerance for risk. But for me, I tend to operate a lot better. The the more stressful the situation, the better I operate. I think it's probably weird. My wife thinks I'm crazy, but I think it works with my personality. Yeah, it's easier to become a subject matter expert than to learn people's skills. Yeah, that's true too. I, I think that's true too, but I think you do a little bit of both. I've always looked at it as anytime I'm in an environment that's kind of chaotic is preparing me for something down the road. You know what I mean? Like we all worked at some place that might have been a little bit crazy, and while you was going through it, you was like, man, these people wild as hell. Like, I don't know, man. These people, they plucking my nerves. But when you leave and go somewhere else, is light work. Like, because of what you've been through, you developed a professional toughness or a personal toughness. Your thinness gets thick. So nothing bothers you when you go somewhere else because you kind of been through the fire. It's like like how do they make steel and weapons stronger? They put it through the fire. They burn it, it get hot, it melts, they shape it, it strengthens up. When it cools down, it's even harder than it was before the first time. People generally react the same way. Generally, some people you put them in the fire and they just melt and that's it. But generally, tough things that you go through personally and professionally always have a benefit on the back end. In my opinion, I think that's a way to look at it. So, I guess the point of that is let's not be complacent in what we're doing. Literally, one of the ways I think is whichever is the easier choice, I normally lean towards the opposite of that. If I had a few options in front of me and one seemed a lot more easier and comfortable for me, I'm probably inclined to do the opposite of that because I know if I'm pushed out of my zone, I'm gonna work a little bit harder. But that's kind of my take. It's always that balance. What's going on, Aaron? Thanks for joining in. The competency they are assessing, and that is tolerance for ambiguity, indicator of how you will thrive in a volatile, uncertain environment. Yeah, and I think that's where, like, I mean, let's just be anyone. I'm not gonna say anyone, but it's easy to be productive when everything is going right. Like, eh, when everything is going right somewhere, everybody looks good. The guy on the front line making widgets look good. The production manager looks good. The CEO looks good. But the money is made, and the people who make the power moves when things go bad, who can right the ship? Who's the calm in the storm? So I think that's a good way to look at it. And sometimes it's good to break outside of your comfort zone. I'm not saying you got to be as risky as I am. You don't have to be as risky as I am. My wife think I'm a little bit risky, but it balances out because she's really risk averse. She likes structure and all of that stuff. I like structure too, but like, hey, I know with high risk is high reward. Is more opportunities to be had amongst the chaos. So, hey, that's when moves are made. So I like to be in that kind of volatile, wild environment. It's interesting because I put a poll question up, and it was interesting to look at the feedback. I said, if you had to hire an employee for your team, now I know it would depend on the job or what the task is at hand, but I said, in general, would you rather have an employee who is a 10 out of 10 subject matter expert, but his people skills and personality skills are like a 3 out of 10? Or would you rather have an alternative someone who's a 7 out of 10 on a technical scale when it comes to the work, but their personality, their fit with the team is like a 9 out of 10? And it was funny to look at the responses because, most people said, give me the person who's a 7 out of 10 technical, but a 9 out of 10 on the teamwork and fitting in with the culture side. But it was a lot of people who was like, man, I don't care about their fit. If they could do the job, give me the guy who's good at his job, but is a terrible team player. If I'm supervising them, I figure out a way to manage them and make it work. And I think both answers are right. But the age-old adage that I always hear, and I know Aaron probably heard this, y'all probably heard this as well, is You can teach technical proficiency, but you can't teach personality and being a collaborative worker. It's hard to teach. So me give I'm going for the guy who's a 7 out of 10 on the technical scale, but a 9 out of 10 on the teamwork side of the game. I think we can work to get his proficiency up to where we need it to be versus the guy who's a 10 out of 10, but a 2 out of 10 on a teamwork collaboration scale. Like that guy's going to be a pain in the you know what. So that's just kind of my take on it. I check this comment out. Pilots do great in simulators, but when the engine goes out after takeoff, that separates perform. Hey, I'm telling you, yeah, it's no, it's not a lot of selling burgers, Captain Sully. It's not a lot of them out there. With the pressure hit the fan, it separates the real from the fake. And I don't know why. Like I always focus more the more stressful situation. Even in like school. In school, if a professor was like cool and real relaxed, I'm gonna be cool and too relaxed, so I'm not gonna take that class serious. But if a professor was like really meticulous and hard and kind of a pain in the you know what on students, that's the class I always perform best in because I'm like, oh man, that's why law school worked for me. Like if I went to get a master's, I probably would have flunked out. If I went to get a master's or go to graduate school or get a PhD, I'm not doing all those projects. All those projects and assignments and group projects, nobody, man, I ain't got time to do all that. But law school, you sit in the class, they give you a bunch of information. You may have two tests if you're lucky. Most times you only have one test. Whatever you get on that one exam is your grade. You may have two tests. You might have a midterm that's worth like 15% and your finals worth like 85%. But environments like that work perfectly because I don't have the luxury of pacing myself throughout the school year. I know if I mess up on this test, I'm screwed. So let me focus. So that always kind of works with me, when it comes to performance. I just like the stress. It brings out the best in me. Now, as I'm going through it, I might feel like trash for a little bit, but it does elevate my ability to focus. So sometimes it's cool to get out of your comfort zone and put yourself in a situation that may make you a little bit more uncomfortable because you got to think there's a lot more opportunity over on that side. Now, this last story has nothing to do with motivation. It has nothing to do with really finances. This is just a story that someone sent to me, and I wanted to play it because it's really kind of sad the society that we live in. Because I would say generally, most people tend to want to help somebody. You know what I mean? If you need it, maybe about 2 weeks ago, right? I do something real stupid uh, when it comes to going to the gym where I put my personal belongings in my car. And so I needed to ask a complete stranger. I saw him over there with a toolbox and I asked him for something. And when I asked him for something, he was like, okay, yeah, you can go and borrow this tool so I can fix whatever it was that I screwed up in my vehicle at the time. But I generally think that most people generally would help somebody if I'm riding, I see a guy on a motorcycle on the side of the road. Me, I always pull over and be like, "Yo, bro, you all right?" Because the last thing I want to do is be on my motorcycle and on the side of the road. But helping people is risky as hell. Law is a lot of knowledge base. There are right answers and wrong answers, and really wrong answers. It's no such thing as a wrong answer. It just depends on how you explain it. If you explain it right, it might be the right answer. Yeah, physics has a lot of ambiguity as well. Yep, I agree. Yeah, I wanted to be a psychologist, but it just like I wanted to be a psychologist because I had a psychology teacher in high school, and it was like an elective. And when I saw this dude hypnotize somebody, I was like, "Yo, I want to be able to do that." But it's fortunately or unfortunately, psychology and hypnotism wasn't in my cards because I probably would have used it for evil purposes. So I probably would have used it for evil purposes. But this last story is an interesting story of a good Samaritan trying to help out an employee who he noticed who was coming to work with wet clothes, smelling bad, who ended up being homeless. And I'm not even going to talk about it. I'm gonna go ahead and play the video, so we could just dive in, and then we're gonna rap about it on the back end.
This is a horribly sad story. We talked to Louis Stafford's mom, who just wants people to know what kind of person her son was. And she wants to give everybody watching a big smile and even bigger heart. He was so emotional. He was Louis Stafford. He was a good friend. I never know if to anybody. A manager at the Taco Bell on 23 Mile in Chesterfield Township. Louis' big heart apparent when he noticed one of his employees was coming into work with wet clothes. John Drake admitted to being homeless, and Louis, being Louis, offered to let him stay with him in his apartment less than a mile down the road from the Taco Bell. Yeah, he's a big brother. He's a younger brother. But a short time after the employee started staying with Louis, his behavior became combative towards his coworkers and towards Louis, according to Louis' mother. We told Dijon he could no longer stay with him at his apartment. It was Saturday, July 29th. And that's when the fight broke out. The dude didn't want to leave. He just refused to leave. And he pushed Louis. And Louis fought back. Louis Stafford, just 27 years old, died at a nearby hospital. And, leaves at police arrested 24-year-old John Drake on the scene. He's being held at the Macomb County Jail on a $2 million bond. A message Louis' mom wants to share. You just cannot let your heart overrule your safety. If the world has changed, it's the love of the drug. Don't know if you stop that person, what's on them just because they're in need. And Louis' mom also has a big heart. She set up a GoFundMe, but not necessarily to pay for anything for her family. Yes, she wants a nice suit to bury her son, but she's also raising money for Louis' two friends who were there with him. This horrible thing happened. Reporting live in Chesterfield Township. Now, the toughest part about this whole thing is that Louis was just trying to do the right thing and help somebody get back on their feet, and then something like this happens. It's really hard to figure out what to say in a case like this. Yeah, it really is. I mean, we went to the Taco Bell, and of course, they couldn't talk on camera because you have to go through corporate and whatnot. But I talked to one of the managers, and you could see it in his eyes. I talked to him obviously off camera, and you could just tell by looking into his eyes how important Louis was to all the people who worked there and what a great guy he was, just in that short interaction I had with his fellow coworkers.
Okay, I don't know if y'all heard that story before, right? I don't know if y'all heard that story before, but that story somebody sent me is absolutely insane, because I do agree that most times people want to help. But this dude was 27 years old, a manager at Taco Bell, trying to do the right thing, and he saw one of his employees coming in, wet clothes, smelling bad, and he offered to open up his door to this guy to let him in his house. Now, I don't know if y'all seen that photo of the individual who was charged with his murder, who's being held on a $2 million bond. But this is a guy, if you saw that picture, tattoos on the face, like, hey, I used to be a criminal defense attorney and I worked a lot of street crimes. Like, I know what certain tattoos mean. This guy didn't stereotype this brother for the way he looked. He just opened up his doors and said, hey, you homeless? You can come stay with me. And he ended up losing his life trying to help somebody out. This is like, it's sad because now you can't even help nobody. Like, if I would literally tell my kids, if someone needs help, be very cautious with how you proceed. Sometimes the best help you can do is to make a phone call or be a good witness. Sometimes it's not in your best interest to, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go over there and help you jumpstart your car. Because in this society, it's just more dangerous out here. I just told someone the other day when we were talking about this story, I was like, As someone who was in Iraq in 2003, it was actually less dangerous being in a war zone at the beginning of a conflict in a combat arms unit than it is to walk around your typical inner city. I mean, it really is, because at least when I'm in Iraq in a war zone, I reasonably know what to expect. I know that stuff ain't sweet out here. I know that there's going to be a high level of risk. There's no reason why you should feel like so uncomfortable walking to the store or getting gas. My neighbors are in their 70s, retired, and they told me a couple of weeks ago, it was maybe about a month ago, that at the gas station in the middle of the day, somebody robbed them. Like out of nowhere, an old couple. Like, come on, like times have definitely changed. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's one thing to want to be able to help people, but at the end of the day, you always got to look out for yourself first. I personally think most things are set up, even if they aren't. I'm really jaded just because of how I grew up, environments I grew up in, the type of work that I do and have done over the years. I typically think the worst out of most situations. So if I do offer assistance, I'm very tactical about how I do it, when I do it, or if I do it. But that's just a terrible story, man. And this is really a sad state of affairs, because I've got to teach my kids growing up, if somebody needs assistance, like, oh, you should help out your fellow man. That's normally what you think, but nah, that's not what it is in 2023. I'm like, hey, it could be a finesse move, it could be some gamesmanship going on, it could be a jack move. So the first priority before you help out anybody is making sure it's not a situation where you're putting yourself at risk. But that is an absolute crazy story, that a mother lost her son, a brother. He was a big brother, he was a little brother, and he was just trying to help someone out who needed help. Because most people aren't doing that. Like most people, I'm willing to help people with a lot of things, but letting you come into my home is something that I'm not going to do. It's something that I never gonna do. Trust me, you can ask. My own family know that. I like, nah, bro, you can't come over here. Nah, fam, you can't come over here. I got an extra room, but not for you. Hey, I can help you out in another way, but you can't come here. So most people are very reluctant to open their doors to even their own family members, because your home is the one place where you have peace and refuge. But to open your door to an absolute stranger because you see they're going to a hardship, it shows you the type of character that that young man had, and it's just so sad and jacked up. And the sad part is, like, uh, whatever the answer is to avoid situations like this in the future, is still a bad look for our society. Like, what would be the answer to avoid this? Don't help nobody out. If you see somebody going through something, let them deal with it. And like, okay, yeah, that could have avoided this situation, but just where society is as a whole, that's probably not a message you want to do. But at the end of the day, hey, self preservation is key, and you got to look out for yourself. And it's just it's sad. I mean, it's no real advice. That two lives are directly impacted, and a lot of lives are touched by the loss of this on both sides. You know what I mean? So that's a crazy story. It's just a story that I just wanted to put out there. Once you move in, it's very difficult to get them out. Yeah, once you move in, and depending on where you at, you start getting mail, and they actually like established residency there because they were there for a certain duration, or they started getting utilities, or they're paying utilities. Like, it's it's terrible. I don't know. That's just sad. I mean, I guess the takeaway for me for a story like that is like, yo, I know it's good people out here who want to help, but you always got to think of your own personal interest and safety first. You know what I mean? You got to think of your personal interest and your safety first before you can help anybody else. And helping people, sometimes it may not come in the form of opening your doors or your wallet. It could be making a phone call, pointing someone in the direction of a homeless shelter or food. I've done that before. I've known people or been in situations where I've seen someone and they may have not had any food or they may have not had a living situation. And I'm damn sure not opening my doors up to them. But you know what? I'd be like, hey, here, hold on, sit tight real quick. Here's the information. If you can get to this place before this time, they have a bed for you. Here's $20 to catch a cab to get over there. I mean, is though sometimes you gotta adjust the way you help people, or sometimes you gotta realize that every situation isn't a situation where you might need to intervene. Yeah, family is welcome. Aaron said, family is welcome here for 2 nights, three max. Close friends, children, I do not have a soft spot for them. But a stranger, nah. Want to camp in my backyard? Sure. Stay in my home, not comfortable. Yeah, not even family. Like I can remember, I can remember once, like my brother needed a place to crash and he came over and I was like, nah, bro, I give you money to stay at a spot for a couple of days, but you can't stay here. Like, yeah. Even if I was a solo dolo in the bachelor pad, I just generally don't want anybody affecting my peace or my private space. Now, like okay, and it depends on the circumstances surrounding it. You know what I mean? If it's a one-off, if pops come up to visit or something, hey, come on, pops, you can stay. It's all good. You can stay as long as you want. Borrow the car, I don't care. But depending on the circumstances around it, like, nah, I'm gonna respectfully decline to have you here because I just don't want any BS or any drama, especially if you barely know the person. I agree with that. I agree with that, Judy. Y'all make sure y'all check out uh, her channel too, AA Legal Focus. Y'all go check it out. She got some dope content and she covers some interesting legal trials that are ongoing and cover some legal cases. So y'all go check out her channel as well. But I thought that story was just a wild story and sad. My uncle came to live with my family, brought his wife and son over, stayed 18 years. Then I almost had to evict them because they wouldn't move out. God damn, 18 years? That's a whole education system right there. That's that's K through 12 and a bachelor's degree. That's yeah, but that's the thing. That's why two lessons I learned. I'm generally not I'm generally not doing anything with family related to finances, like money, like loans, or let's do this, or can I sign for this, or can you help me? And I'll no. I'm generally not doing that, and I'm generally not putting anyone in my home. It's just too risky. And that guy was a bachelor, so he probably and I'm gonna be honest, at that age, 27, I'm sure he probably thought I can invite this dude over because if something happened, I just throw his ass out. Because that's that's how you think when you're in your 20s. I know, like when I was in my 20s and I had my own place, if someone came over, I wouldn't have been worried about going through a legal process to evict them because I was like, nah, when it's time to get out, you're gonna get out or you're gonna get these hands. Like that's just kind of how you think when you're young. So he might have thought whatever the issue was, whatever. I'm not worried about it. Push come to shove, I'm gonna just throw this dude out if I gotta grab him by his collar and toss him out. Legality, schmegalities. It's kind of how you think when you're young. And even like his mother said, they got into an altercation, a fight occurred. He tuned the guy up. And you just don't know what people are bringing in your house. You don't know what drama is coming along with it. But that's just a terrible story that we lost what appears to be a really good person, a good young man who was doing the right thing in his life and his career as a manager at 27. I mean, he was on the fast track to probably having his own franchise, and now it was all cut short. And shout out to rest in peace to him, and shout out to his mother because his mother's really considerate. I thought that was a really unique perspective of starting to GoFundMe for the other persons who were in the house at the time that happened, because that's a whole nother level of trauma and Like when you see stuff like that, hey, it's as somebody who's seen stuff like that, it sticks with you, even though you think like, oh, I'm okay, I can get over it. But nah, that stuff stick with you, and that's gonna cost money to, get the therapy that they need to work through that. Seeing the loss of a friend is it's just terrible that we can't even really help people out no more because it was wow, it was crazy. And she's referring to her uncle who came stay with her and the family for 18 years, and then it was an issue to get them out. It was crazy. His wife also had another child. My mom was too nice. After she died, we realized how much money my uncle was taking advantage of the situation and using my parents. Oh man, see, and that, but I think that goes to the point though, like when it comes to like money situation, money is really terrible because it just brings out the worst in people. Like money brings out the absolute worst in people. I actually had a situation recently that I may talk about at a later date, but I was going to do something, and I was going to do something where related to putting my name on someone's financial account to be able to help them to manage their money. But because of how a situation played out, I was like, hell no, I'm not doing that. I was like, nah, I'm not doing that because I don't want no problems. I don't want like, okay, yeah, like, and then I can just call you, and I know I'm not going to borrow, get the money out. No, I'm not doing all that crap. Like, you know what? I thought about doing it, but then when it hit me, I was like, nah, man, I don't want no problems. Everybody grown. Handle your own damn money, handle your own situation. Hey, if you need advice, you can call and ask me. But nah, I don't want it's just gonna get too sticky, and people typically take advantage. Like most people, if there's a way that they can take advantage of someone or finesse them, that's probably what they're gonna do. I don't think of myself as like that. I like to think that like I don't like taking advantage of people. I don't like to see somebody else being taken advantage of. You want to frustrate me? Like that frustrates me when I see someone actually being taken advantage of. I don't like that. Like that really pisses me off. But most people, especially when it come to if they can get over financially, a lot of people will, and it's just a sad state of affairs. But yo, I just wanted to kind of recap those stories today. I thought they were all interesting topics. And I was like, I'm not making no short videos on all three of these daggone topics. We're gonna talk about it all at once and call it a day. Tomorrow I might just put out a pre-recorded video tomorrow. But I got some updates on the job interview front that I'm probably gonna give that are looking very positive. So hopefully I won't be doing the temporary work that I'm doing much longer. But I give y'all an update once an update come through. I actually might. I'm not gonna stream it live, but I might stream going through or up into the process for these second interviews before I do it. But I don't know. We'll talk about it. It's Thursday. The weekend's coming up. Everyone have a safe and productive weekend. If I don't get a chance to holler at y'all, y'all take care. Be blessed. Peace.